Hello, this is Tony Brewer from the We Talk Truth Group, and you are listening to Cogitations. This is the podcast in which we discuss things that are very pertinent to members of the Lord's church, to members of the body of Christ. And we go daily, Monday through Friday, and we go as early as I can, as close to 8 o'clock as I can. I don't always hit that 8 to 8:30 mark, but we try. I'm a local preacher, and this is not my method of income. This is something I do as a supplement to my ministry here at the Bay Church of Christ in Bay, Arkansas. The word cogitations means to really think about something. I mean to turn it over and over in your head, to really contemplate and scrutinize what we consider to be the truth. And I think we ought to do more of that. The word cogitations is found in the King James Bible, Daniel chapter 7, verse 28. Hitherto is the end of the matter. As for me, Daniel, my cogitations much troubled me, and my countenance changed in me, but I kept the matter in my heart. Well, now, we're not going to keep the matter in our heart. We're going to talk about it, because we don't want our cogitations to trouble us. I got a sour enough looking face as it is. I don't need to walk around looking troubled. Anyway, I'm going to go in, and at the end of these episodes, I typically try to go to the viewer comments. And not only am I streaming this in the We Talk Truth group, I'm also streaming this on the Added to the Church of Christ, Acts 247 Facebook page. And if you would like to have your comment addressed at the end of the podcast, won't you come into the We Talk Truth group and make your comment? I'm going to try. I may go to the added page live stream at the end of the podcast and look for comments. But if you want your comment addressed, go to We Talk Truth in your search engine on Facebook and ask to join the group. And we might not get you in this time, but you'll be able to come in and you'll be able to interact with us live. So let's go to the topic for today. It's about dogs, pigs, and the gospel. And you may be thinking, that's a strange title, and what in the world are you talking about, dogs, pigs, and the gospel? Well, this comes from a viewer. This is a viewer request, and we do that a lot. In fact, just about all of these episodes have been questions that have been asked to me during my time online, teaching the Bible online. It comes from Mathew chapter 7, verse 6. Give not that which is holy unto dogs, neither cast ye your pearls before swine, lest they trample them under their feet and turn again and rend you. Okay? Now, this, in order to understand this, we really need to put it in its context and what's going on in the time. The verse here is right slap in the middle of, or maybe not directly in the middle, but at least in the body of what we call the Sermon on the Mount. And with the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus is talking to the Pharisee, or the people who are trying to be controlled and ruled by the Pharisees and the scribes. You can go to, and really mostly the Pharisees, you can go to Mathew chapter 23 and read about Jesus's his thoughts on those Pharisees and scribes. The scribes and the Pharisees, Jesus says, sit in Moses' seat. Therefore, whatsoever they bid you do, that do, but do not after their works. For they say and do not. And they bind heavy loads or heavy burdens, grievous to be borne upon shoulders of men. And they don't try with the effort that would be expended in their little finger to even lift them. That's not the King James, that's the Tony paraphrase. But go read Matthew 23 and you'll get into that. Then he pronounces the woes on the Pharisees. Well, that's what these people were. And he was saying, your righteousness has got to exceed the righteousness of the Pharisees. Well, how do you do that? Well, by following God and not the Pharisees. That's something that the Calvinists need to understand. I'm not clothed in Jesus' righteousness. I'm righteous because I do righteous. Okay. In fact, that's 1 John chapter 3, Verse 7, little children, let no man deceive you. He that doeth righteousness is righteous, even as he is righteous. I'm righteous. I am counted righteous because I obey Jesus, because I obey the Master. I'm not clothed in my own righteousness. God counts me as righteous. So anyway, why then does it tell me to give not that which is holy unto the dogs, neither cast ye your pearls before the swine, lest they trample them underfoot and turn again and rend you? Well, notice in chapter 7, verse 1, judge not that you be not judged, for with what judgment you judge, ye shall be judged, and with what measure you mete, it shall be measured to you again. And why beholdest thou the mote that is in your brother's eyes, and considerest not the beam that is in thine own eye? Or how wilt thou say to thy brother, let me pull out the mote out of thine eye, and behold, a beam is in thine own eye? Thou hypocrite, first cast out the beam out of thine own eye, and then thou shalt see clearly to cast out the mote out of thy brother's eye. If you'll notice, this is a commandment to judge. It is understood that you're going to be judging your brother, and that you're going to have to make sure that your life is in order. I think it's interesting that Jordan B. Peterson has written this book called 12 Rules for Life, and it's a wonderful book. One of the rules is clean your room. These kids go off to college and they can't even take care of themselves, and their professors in their liberal arts studies tell them that they can go out and change the world, and these poor children can't even clean their room. First, you take care of yourself. Make sure you're right. Make sure that you're the best version of you that you can be. Then clean your room. Or then take care of other people, rather. When you're the best version of you that you can be, then you can deal with your brother. When you've made sure that you've got the beam out of your own eye, if your brother's dealing with a little speck of sawdust in his eye, then you can help him. And again, I say brother, and I say he, and I say man, because I'm a male and I teach from a male perspective. Obviously, this is just as pertinent for women as it is men. So, with all of that said, you're going to run across people that don't really appreciate you pointing out the speck of sawdust in their eye, even when you are completely perfect is not the right word. When you have your life together, when you're doing the things the way things ought to be done, you're going to be in a position to help other people, and some people aren't going to like it. All right? Here's the thing. Don't go out and preach a gospel. Don't go out and teach a gospel unless you have your life cleaned up. Now, when you have your life cleaned up, then you can go out and preach and teach the gospel. When you do this, people aren't going to like it. Well, some people aren't going to like it. I remember in my youth, I've always said the heathen could smell a hypocrite from a mile away, maybe 100 miles away. And as a heathen, especially as a young heathen, I was able to smell that hypocrite, and I knew, and I was a dog and I was a pig, and I would cast the pearls back at the person. If that person tried to tell me I needed to be living right and they weren't living right, man, I'd point that out in a heartbeat. If they tried to get and I had way more than a speck in my own eye. If they tried to get the speck and more out of my eye and their eyes weren't clear, I'd point that right out. I'd tell them, you need to take care of yourself. Well, some of these people, if you go around trying to help your fellow man, especially if you go around trying to help your fellow man in a spiritual way, and you don't have your life taken care of, then it's going to go bad for you. Now, if you do have your life taken care of, it still might go bad for you. You're going to run across people that just don't appreciate it. How much time have you wasted trying to help people that don't care that you're trying to help them? And eventually they may turn on you. They may turn on you with vicious rumors and vicious slanderous attacks. They may try to do you harm physically. That's what Jesus is talking about here. Give not that which is holy unto the dogs, neither cast ye your pearls before swine, lest they trample them under their feet and turn again and rend you. So the idea here then is, if you have the knowledge of the gospel, if you have a knowledge of these spiritual things, and you try to teach people, there's going to be people that are going to be receptive. And then there's going to be people who are going to hate it, and they're going to hate you for it. I'm going to lick my finger and turn left here, going right back to the very beginning to what we call the blessed beatitudes. And I look at verse 10. Blessed, or this is chapter 5, verse 10. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are ye when men shall revile you and persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely for my name's sake, or for my sake. Rejoice and be exceeding glad, for great is your reward in heaven. For so persecuted they the prophets which were before you. The Sermon on the Mount is so amazing. He goes on to say, "You are the salt of the earth. But if the salt have lost its savor, wherewith shall it be salted? It is henceforth good for nothing but to be cast out and trodden under the foot of men. You are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hid. Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel, but on a candlestick, and it giveth light to all that are in the house. Let your light so shine before men, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven." This is right at Matthew 7. This is parallel or saying the same thing as Matthew 7, 1 through 5. Don't judge unless you be judged also. With the intensity that you judge others, they're going to judge you. Don't try to get the speck out of your brother's eye unless you get the beam out of your own eye. And by the way, you know you're going to be persecuted. God's not calling you to be a martyr. Don't give that which is holy unto the dogs. Don't cast your pearls before swine. If you put yourself out there in the gospel and the people aren't receptive, don't make them so mad that they want to kill you. They're going to persecute you anyway. But you ain't got to just keep poking a bear with a stick. You don't have to just keep going and going and going until you rile them up so much that they turn on you and rend you into pieces. I think about what Jesus told his disciples on the limited commission in Matthew 10. He said, if you go into a city and they don't receive you, leave. Shake the dust off of your feet. And we're so uncomfortable with that. Why are we uncomfortable with that? Well, because we're human and we know the importance of what we're doing. We have the gospel. We've got the best message that can ever be preached. So what we have done is we have projected our thoughts and feelings and our receptive nature on every other man and woman on the face of the earth, and they're just not that way. Some people just don't like what we do. So leave. Spend your time in a much better fashion by working with somebody that wants to be helped. That's what that means. Don't give that which is holy unto dogs, and don't cast your pearls before the swine. And you have the ability in yourself to discern whether or not someone is a dog or a pig. I don't understand why. I don't understand why we're so scared of the implications of this verse. I've talked to many, many people who are. They're very, very scared and have a difficult time with this verse. And it should be so simple. I mean, we're talking Ned and the first reader. This is the primer stuff. Why in the world would you waste time on somebody that hates the gospel whenever you can spend more time on somebody that would love the gospel? It's all about seed sowing. It's all about being frugal. It's all about being, as Jesus put it, as shrewd as serpents and as harmless as doves. If I go and knock on somebody's door, hello, my name is Tony Brewer, and I'm from the Bay Church of Christ, and I'd like to know if you'd be interested in a Bible study. Well, nope, I sure wouldn't. I just don't like those things. Well, I appreciate it, and here's some material, and we'd love to have you come visit us sometime and see what we're all about, and I'll let you get back to your life. That's how I'm going to handle that situation. I'm not going to say, well, why don't you like that kind of stuff or something like that? Now, again, I know what you're thinking. Well, Tony, you're just wasting that opportunity. If I knocked on the door and if I thought it would be profitable and somebody says, well, I hate religion, I might say, well, that's very interesting. Why do you hate religion? And I would hear them out. But I'm not going to try to convince them to love religion on the front porch. That's what I'm talking about. That conversation could go 9 million different ways, and none of them include me giving that which is holy unto the dog or casting my pearl before the swine that's in front of me. But the main thing is I'm going to be frugal with my time. I'm going to be frugal with the pearls of wisdom from God's word, and I'm going to try to reach as many people as I possibly can. And I'm not going to necessarily become a martyr because of what I'm doing. They're going to persecute me. They're going to hate me, but I don't have to make them so mad they want to kill me. Anyway, we're about 15 minutes in, and that's as far as I would think that parable's explained. I mean, that parable, it's not a parable. That verse is explained. Cast not your pearls before the swine, give not that which is holy unto dogs. I'm going to tell you that's some good advice that we all need to take. Man, we need to be so familiar with the Sermon on the Mount. Ask and it shall be given unto you. Seek and ye shall find. Knock and it shall be opened unto you. For everyone that asketh receiveth, and he that seeketh findeth, and to him that knocketh it shall be open. Or what man there of you, whom if his son asks bread, will give him a stone? We could spend so many hours on the Sermon on the Mount. But I think we've explained this. I'm going to go and I'm going to go to the added page and see if anybody has made any comments there. Normally I do something that allows, wow, we've got 10 folks in the live stream over on the added page. That's pretty good for not doing any kind of promotion whatsoever. Facebook's algorithm has really come down hard on what we do here. So Sheila Cole says that this verse is so misused and so often by those who claim that calling sin sin is judging. Absolutely. Well, we got folks from Breckenridge, Texas. Good to see you. Good morning, everybody. We got folks from Canada, Texas, and some more places I see. That's pretty good. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. And let's see. I thought I missed a comment. Oh, well, I don't guess I did. This is probably the shortest episode of Cogitations I've ever done, but that's okay. We dealt with the question, and hopefully I've explained this verse in an adequate way where we can understand it. Give not that which is holy unto the dogs, and cast not your pearls before the swine, means that we need to be a little bit discerning when we go about teaching and preaching the gospel. We can teach the gospel to people, but if we find somebody that just is absolutely resistant, then let them go about their lives. I mean, you can't force somebody. You can't shove it down their throat, as it were. So anyway, I appreciate everybody's kind attention. If you like what we're doing and you want to help us out, you can become a patron at www.patreon.com/nearchurches. And you can get access to exclusive content. My wife and I does an as of yet unnamed podcast. The last podcast we did was really good, I thought. We talked about food of all things. And then not only did we talk about food, we talked about mindfulness, being aware of your emotions and how they affect your body, and how to kind of regulate your emotions. She's really good at stuff like that. Of course, she's a professional therapist, so I think she's supposed to be good at stuff like that. But anyway, God bless you, and we'll see you, Lord willing, tomorrow for another episode of Cogitations. And please, for those of you on the added page, come on over to the We Talk Truth group, and we'd love to have you. Go to We Talk Truth or type in We Talk Truth on your search bar, and join the group. And we appreciate you, and we'll see you on the flip side. Whoops. Here we go.